Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a Christmas ornament. The other day, we cut this one out here on the Velocity #2 pedal saw. If those of you had watched that, if you haven't, why, please click it and watch it. It's interesting. But so I thought, well, we would do this little guy, and the holidays are coming up soon. So this is the finished one. As you can see here, he's very colorful, and I do a lot of ornaments every year, and sometimes I number them, sometimes I put their family's names on it, whatever. So anyway, this is going to be our little project for the holidays coming up, and a little elf guy. So first thing we're going to do is set him off the scene there just a little bit. And of course, safety first. And we're going to take a number 3/16, about a 4mm V-tool, and we're just going to outline everything on this particular guy here. All right, so we're going to just first do some relief carving or incise carving like we did on one video, and we're just going to outline everything that we see here pretty much on this guy. Taking my left thumb here, and I'm using it for control. My right hand is pushing, that's the power there. And then when we get it all outlined, we're going to go back over this with a knife and put the stop cuts in that we need. Got a little bench hook here that I made some years ago just for small things like this here. So I've got a couple of them for different size projects. I took my glove off. I was going to have it on, but when we start actually handling the carving or the project itself, we'll put the glove on. But I think the glove is going to cover up a lot of our shots here, so I am watching where this tool is going and watching my hand placement. So again, we're not putting a whole lot of pressure on our carving here. We're just outlining the different features of his body. Here we're getting down to his little legs. Now we're going to not do the mouth. We'll paint the mouth on probably, or we can carve the mouth on by using a V-tool. But we are going to take this down a little bit and get this nose standing out, and also a little tassel here that connects to the wreath. And if you like this pattern, we'll have it in the video description for you to print off if you would like. Okay, I think pretty much that's good for now. Now we're going to put our glove on. And we're going to take our knife, whatever bench knife that you have that you're comfortable in using. And once in a while we may have to pick this guy up and manhandle him, so to speak, and to get the correct cuts and that we need to. So all we're doing is outlining using the very tip of your knife and coming in and putting in all these stop cuts, because you'll see here later on when I bring back the finished carving, there's quite a bit of different paints that we'll use to make this thing really come to life. Again, just using the tip of your blade. Don't go any deeper because, again, we're using about a 1/2 inch thick piece of wood. And sometimes if you hit it just right, it can split your piece because we have nothing holding on each side of this stuff. And it could go on you. You never know. Wood can be kind of funny. So that's why you always be paying attention where every cut's going. All right, I'm going to stop. I see a place right there I missed. Sometimes you just have to stop and look at it, make sure that you've got all your cuts that you need. Go down here. And you may have to revisit these down the road. Okay, so now we're going to come here and do the nose. This little potato nose this young little elf's got. Or this could be a little kid, whatever you want it to be. So anyway, all right, this is kind of like relief carving in a way. So now I'm going to bring up the finished one here and show you the different colors that we're working with. And so you've got your greens and reds and so on and so forth. So we've got quite a bit of carving to do on this, but it's really a fun project and hope that you'll enjoy it. All right, now we're going to take a number 3 gouge, and we're just going to start working and relieving, especially even on, if I've got a face to do on an ornament, I always start with the face. And there's no eyes. Now you could put eyes on this guy if you wanted to. Just, bring your hat up more. And again, you may have to come in and put a stop cut, because as you're taking the wood away, as you're going up against whatever you're taking away here, you are removing that stop cut as you go, little by little. So here I am revisiting this. And then we're going to be using our knife here after a while. And now we're going to tuck his face in. Love to hear the tool going through the wood. All right, let's stop and let's put our stop cuts in. And I'm going to take my V-tool here now and just clean up. It's a good way to clean up the sides of anything that you're doing, whether it's in relief carving or this particular type of carving. Come in using that V-tool because it cleans up the sides. You have less fuzzies there. And it gets rid of them for you. Now we're going to take our number 3 gouge here, and we're going to set that ear behind a little bit. And using that tool also as a knife by putting our stop cuts in. So use your tool as much as you can for whatever you can before you set it down and pick up another one. All right, let's come in here now and let's relieve his tummy, put it underneath the coat here. Now if it breaks off like that there, so what? We're going to round him. This body's going to be sort of round anyway. And you got enough wood there, you can make another cut and come in and gently remove it. And because his backside there is round anyway. So sometimes these little, what we call accidents, and happy little accidents, And say, oh no, this is not good. Well, hang right in there. It'll work itself out. All right, coming back here now, setting the stomach area, pants area back in. You know, it's nothing like a hand carved ornament. You're putting a little bit of yourself in each piece that you do. And people, when they'll hang it up on their tree or mantle, they'll remember that you thought of them and carved something special for that family or that individual. I'd rather have something handmade, you know, if possible. Now I'm setting this leg, carving this leg back a little bit. Now be careful, because you're out here in space, so to speak, and you got to be careful that you don't, you know, take off the foot. And so just remember our rule, 3 small cuts are better than 1 large one. And I guess we could make him in a peg leg elf. But anyway. All right, now we're going to take this wreath and start relieving it a little bit. Getting it away from the coat, setting it back against the coat more. Now you can, you know, we're going to probably pick him up here after a while and hand carve, you know, get him a little closer to us where we can get him, you know, a little closer with him. But again, you don't have to. It's whatever's comfortable for you to do. All right. There we go. We're getting this hand where it'll stand out. It makes it look like it's holding the wreath. Now we're coming out here on the wreath itself and starting removing the surface wood, getting down where it creates depth. Now remember, a wreath is it has shadows, it has depth to it, so don't make it all flat. You know, use the texturing of it and leave it rough like that, you know. So let me continue to like come up here to the bow, ribbon, and you say, well, Van, where do you get ideas for these things like this? Well, this came out of a children's coloring book. So, you know, wherever you shop at and for children's things, look in their coloring books for ideas for things like this here. And or online. Internet is a great resource for a lot of stuff like this here. So see how I'm putting some curves to it, giving some depth there, and turning that wreath where it's starting to show some depth to it and some realism. Doesn't that sound neat? All right, let's come up here now to the top of the hand. Start close. Don't come way out here until you first get your established cuts in, and then you can work your way back. So that's very important that you do. You start up close and then work your way back. Because if you start back here, the wood could give away, and I mean it could go no telling where. Use your blower. Now we're going to set this wreath a little bit behind the hat area. And okay, so let's stop and look at him here for a little bit. And we still got some work to do, but anyway, now we're going to work around the ball here of his little hat. Working up against the bow. This is another good way for, if you have adult supervision, is to come up with a simple project for your kids to do when they get to a certain age that you feel comfortable, and give them supervision or something like this, maybe something a little bit more simpler, but it establishes confidence and helps them with control. And great way to spend time with your kids or nephews or nieces or whatever, or neighbors. Again, we're setting this back. Okay, you can see now that the bow now is standing up. It's the closest to us now. And so we can start thinking about shaping it here in just a little bit. And the more depth you can create, the more realism you're going to have. Using your knife, sometimes you have to get in these small areas, these corners, and use that knife to get in there. Hold it like a pencil, like you're drawing. Okay, now let's take a small U-gouge or a semi-flat gouge, and let's start coming around here and creating the carving where the knot will stand up away from the bow. You can see there how it's starting to stand up, stand out more away from the bow itself, the knot. And that's kind of the same thing we're going to do to the nose after a while, the same type of cuts to relieve that nose on this guy's face. Okay, so we're going to come in here now on the other side. Again, relieving around that bow. And we're going to drop part of this ribbon or the bow, the tail of it, tuck it under here, because we want to start shaping the bow, excuse me, the knot. Start giving it rounding, start rounding it off. Taking your knife and coming in and doing some of this grunt work. Now I'm going to start shaping You see we're already putting some depth to this, tucking things where it needs to be tucked. Now too, we'll have to come in and clean up some of the roughness from the scroll saw. And not much, because that saw is very sharp, the blade on it is very sharp, and so don't have to do a whole lot there. Okay, now like on leaves or anything else you do, you always want to come out to the very edge of your leaves or a ribbon and get right up to the edge there. A lot of people, when they relief carve, they forget the outer edges of their dogwood pattern or their pine browse or whatever they're doing. And so we go right on out here to the edge. And again, everything is not perfect. Everything's, this wreath has probably been used many times. And so create some depth there. Okay, it kind of looks like a butterfly in a way, sort of like, but anyway. It's crazy what you see when you start carving things. Now again, as you get closer to this knot, you want to be careful that you don't chip it off, because you're starting to weaken the sides all the way around it. So just be aware. Okay, now I'm going to take my knife here. Take our brush. We haven't used our brush yet much. And it's just good to take a break from whatever type of carving you like to do and do something different. And, I like character carving a lot, but also I like doing relief carving and this type of carving of taking a flat surface and making a 3D look or 2D or whatever. All right, so we're going to start now rounding. You can do it two ways. You can either use a U-gouge, like a number 3, or use your knife and start rounding the edges of the knot. And so, again, keep turning your project. Keep that going. Because after a while, you're going to take your V-tool and we're going to put in the little creases for the bow. Okay, I want to stop here and show you. We've got a lot of the wreath done. So now let's work on this glove that he's wearing. And you'll notice here in the finished one that we're showing a little bit of an arm or wrist area, so we want to remember that. Okay, so let's come in here and let's, I forgot to put a stop cut there earlier, so let's put a stop cut there. And There we go. Okay, let's drop. Now when we do that, then that exposes, it highlights the end of his shirt or jacket he's wearing. And then also too, as you remove this, it's going to raise the glove up a little bit away from the arm. Taking our V-tool here, cleaning up the sides. V-tool is a wonderful, wonderful tool. Okay, now, right in here our wood gave away, so what we're going to have to do here is this is going to be part of the wreath back in here. Now, if something like this happens, and we're just going to shape his face, kind of go right along down this line here, but don't dig a hole here, okay? So just be careful. If your wood does break in this area, just don't start digging a hole. So. All right, we'll come back to that here and finish that up. Now let's work on his hat here. Now I'm going to have to hold him in my hand here. Now again, pay attention the way your grain is going. It's going vertically here, and it's kind of our pattern's kind of taking a right here. So just remember small cuts until you get a flow of it, a flow for it here. And we're going to come up here, get the sides. And again, your grain's changing, so always be careful. Try to pay attention where that grain is going. And sometimes you can see it, and sometimes you can't. So, all right, so now, okay, the wood doesn't want to cooperate there, so we'll come down here gently because we don't want to take off his ear. Poor guy. How would you explain that to Santa? And two, you want to be careful what you're putting this hand and what you're holding to, because if you put too much pressure holding certain areas, you could break things off. So you kind of got to watch what you're doing. Now watch me lob something off here. That's just the way it goes sometimes. Because you say, well, Van, why are you doing the top side? No one's going to see that. Well, when you paint, though, you're going to have a huge difference. If we left the scroll saw cuts in there, where the blade went up and down, that your paint would not take well to that, and just it would wouldn't look very good. So take the time and dress all this down. Coming in here now, using the tip, because it's this. That way you can get a pretty decent cut here on the curve when you're just using the tip. Now if I come down here and start using this, it's going to start chattering. So I'm just using either a really smaller blade, as far as I'm talking about the width. You can get into areas like this, but just use the tip. That usually can get you in there and for the cuts you need. Drop his hat back in here to where it starts with the little curve to the hat. A lot to think about when you're carving these little fellas. Okay, now I'm going to take my number 3 here, and we're going to do some surface work. I'm going to remove my glove where it doesn't cover up the shot here. See how I got my left index finger behind on top here? Sometimes, you know, it gets out there, but most of the time try to keep it. Using my thumb. Because you want to give it the illusion that it is a complete rounded project like a character carving. In reality, it's not, though. All right, now I'm going to put my glove back on. I'm going to pick him up now. And we're going to do some cuts inside here. I know it's hard to see the inside cuts here with the camera, but I'm going to try our best. All right, now we're going to start rounding the little ball here at the end of his hat. And set that back a little bit, because that's going to cause the ball to stand out a little further. You're working with end grain here, so it's going to take a little bit extra time, but it is worth it. I was asked the other day, what do you do about mistakes? And I said, well, I don't show people my mistakes on my carvings. I learned that a long time ago, because 9 times out of 10, people are not going to see what you did wrong, only you. And so just encourage you in that. Because sometimes these quote so-called mistakes turns out to be pretty decent. Pretty decent. Leave enough wood to where you can put, I usually put the eyelet right about there or in there. What I do is I take a fish hook and I cut the barb off, and it leaves the eyelet, and makes a great ornament holder. Again, the wood grain is going to change because we got different cuts, different. There's a lot going on here on this wreath, so we got it going every which way. Okay. Okay, we're getting close to getting this wreath, the edges carved, and I know this takes time. You say, man, this is boring. Well, but it's all right. This will help you when you're working on the end grain. It just helps you with patience and making sure that you're in nice and good shape to do that. Okay. Now again, we're rounding things off where it needs to be rounded off because we wanted to give the illusion that it's a full piece. And now we got his little fingers. Of course, they're not going to be very, not just in the glove, so you're not going to see a whole lot going on here. So we're just going to give the illusion that he's got all his digits here. Take my number 3 here now. Again, even the glove has to be rounded, the edges and all that. Give it the illusion that it's going all the way around, the fingers are going all the way around to hold the wreath. Let's stop and look at him for a second there. All right, he's taking shape. All right, now let's work on this this coat here that he's wearing, jacket. And so we're going to put a stop cut right here, right underneath the arm. And relieve that. Let's put a stop cut there. That way we don't go up into the arm. So we're going to come in here with whatever tool works best for you to get in here and relieve this out. Now this is going to be the deepest part of his stomach right in here. This is a little skew. You can use a skew in tight areas like this here, you know. Great little tool. You don't have to. I thought I'd just throw that in for kicks and grins today. And again, we're rounding his coat off a little bit, making it look like it's going all the way around his backside here, and so which it is. Just relieve that enough just to show a little separation there, a little height, a little depth on his little coat. Now we're going to come in here and put a stop cut right there on the bottom of his coat. Coming down, now be careful here as you're working down the leg because you're going with the grain. And again, that grain could give away. And so let's try it with our knife here. Putting that leg inside that boot. Okay. Now, I'm going to put a little separation here. Just enough to show some shadows there, depth. All right, let's come in here and clean up the underside of him here. Bring this coat out a little bit more. All right, let's start shaping the boot here. Now this is going to take a little time. You're going to be really careful. And again, there's nothing out here to keep this from going off, you know, to being broke off. So again, just take your time through here. Using my knife here, just removing the surface. Again, try to get to where you can hold it without breaking off any of the feature of this little guy. Okay, it doesn't want to cooperate that way, so let's go this way. That's why you got to hold on to it. You'll learn after a while certain pressures of holding a piece. Got to be careful. Happens to all of us. Okay, so that kind of shows there now, because we want to get rid of the sharp edges off of stuff. Now see there, that broke off there. Well, probably shouldn't went that way, but look at here. See, we can take that and turn it, and it looks like it's going right around. So see, that was a happy little accident, and it worked out good. All right, we're going to lay him back down, take our number 3 gouge and get rid of this surface wood. Be very careful. It's always, when you get about done with a project, and this is when you kind of get in a hurry, if you're not careful, I turn this over and I'm rounding that off. And I'm going to quit right there because that little toe is starting to move on us. So we don't want to cause that problem there with his toe being broke off, his shoe broke off there. Removing the surface wood over here, where it will take paint later on. And now we're going to come in here, we're going to start putting some little details back in that we took off. So we're going to put the little trim of his coat on, and we're going to go right on around and stop right there. See how that added to that, the coat? And then, of course, up here, we got to put in the little hat, the trim up here on this hat. And bring that right on around. I'm laying my V-tool on its side. That way, it relieves that and makes that trim stand out a little bit better. All right, now let's work on the nose. And then we'll work on the nose and the tassel, and then we'll put in the final details of this guy. And so now I'm going to take my tool, number 3, and flip it over on its backside and use it to round off the nose, or whatever else you need to roll to, like a cheek, or anything like that there. It's very good to use a number 3 gouge, or, if it's good for you, use your knife, whatever it is. But make sure you try to get it as round as you can. And you may have to come in and relieve a little bit more underneath the nose here. And that's okay too. So we're going to put our glove back on there. We're going to take our V tool. We're going to run it right along the side there. If you want more of the nose to stand out, I'll take more off up here on top. All right, now we're going to come in and with our tip of our blade and turning our wood just like so. And we're going to come in and relieve that nose a little bit more. So we're going to take our knife and put a cut right there, continuing to round this facial features. And again here, we want that to look like it's going right around the head. Working on the nose again. There we go. And coming in and tweaking that nose right there, and making sure that we got enough depth there, and making this guy a bolus nose. Okay, let's take a gander at this now. Take your brush. All right, so now we'll pull up the finished one here. And you can see we're getting pretty close. We got a few things to put in, little details like here's the rest of his coat that's coming around, things like that. And up here, let's come up here and put a little crease in his hat. Break up the hat a little bit. Just enough. See there, it makes a difference. All right, so let's round off the ball here the best that we can. Figure out which way I want to go with this. Again, you can take your back side of your gouge and round the surface off. Okay, I'm going to come in here, in between here. I know it's going to be hard to see, but you're going to clean up this, or clean up the sides, is all we're doing. Gonna work on this right in here a little bit. Again, remember I said we're not digging a hole here, so we got to remind ourselves of that. But again, we got to get this good and clean in here because you're going to have different colors of paint from flesh to greens and all that. So you don't want to bleed over on these areas whenever you're getting ready to paint. Okay, now the last thing we're going to do, and again, we'll go back over this and tweak it, but you can see most of this is just done with a knife. And so now we're going to put in just the parts of the bow, the wrinkles and things. And so I'll come in like this, and like so, and you don't even have to go all the way down to touch some of them. Break them up. And then also too, we're going to put the creases in the center of the bow. Again, that just adds more depth and more realism to your carving. Now what I do when I get done with everything, I take him and I gently wash him in water and a little soap, and then sit down at the painting station and putting the paint to him. So again, always go around, look on your piece here, see if there's anything you missed that you've carved, and round off things that needs to be rounded off, you know, like his coat area here. Don't leave any sharp edges on your project. And so this will help you. This, again, this is kind of like character carving in a way, but it's kind of a relief carving also, in the same area, in the same time, in the same realm here. And again, just round off things where you see edges, take those edges off, and you don't want to, you can put a little, you know, little tagus there in his ear if you want to, you know, part of it. But anyway, so this kind of gives you an idea of how to do something different and unusual. And so let's put the finished product up here. As you can see, both of them, and so they're a lot of fun to do. And again, you don't have to paint the same colors I do, but use something bright and cheerful, and this will make a great gift for someone around the holidays. Okay, folks, well, that's about wraps us up on this project here, but remind you that with this particular piece, it's kind of hard to see every cut that's made because it's so small and intricate, and it's got a lot of inside cuts and things. So just be patient as you're watching this, and I hope that you've enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe and hit the bell, and happy carving, and we'll see you real soon.